So, Michael, why are you here? Why is this important to our clients, the industry?
This is important to our clients for the same reason I'm here. It's important to me that a lot of these owner operators, these wonderful people who built these businesses on their backs, put their lifetime and their investment into it, the meaning of their life as they get older that continues to rise to the surface for them. I'm here because I want to help them to be able to make the most of the legacy that they've created.
So, the average age of a shop owner today is 58, probably going up.
Yep.
We are seeing some younger people come in, but there's a lot of us guys that have been around for quite a long time.
Yep.
You know, started in the 70s, 80s, 60s. What's the difference? We see shops every day that get sold for pennies on the dollar. Why should I create, how do I create more value?
Sure.
Can I create more value? How long is it going to take me to create more value?
Let me start by saying every industry that ever existed develops its own culture. And the older guys that are, I hate to say at our age that you're talking about, right? We've lived in the old culture. I don't want to say old, it's just the traditional culture that has been built for years. Lately, last 10 to 15 years, certain factors that affect our industry have been changing. And there's a whole list of things, not the least of which is our age and wanting to get out. But the world is changing, the customers are changing, what it takes to bring in talent, especially the younger ones, is changing. And it means that we have to look at our business differently. And the more senior people in our industry, like us, who've been around for a while, have this option, Cecil, that they can decide to stay the way they've been and kind of quietly exit, or look forward and say, not necessarily that I want to stay and play, but I better get this thing ready so that it succeeds in the future for the people that I hand it to. Now, depending on how you hand it to people, if it's an owner finance transaction to a key employee, you better set them up for success or you're going to get this thing back in later retirement.
I hate owner financing.
Yeah.
And the reason I hate owner financing is because I've seen a lot of guys get out very excited. I sold it, I transferred it. They're carrying the paper, and a couple of years down the road,
Sure.
the guy comes back and says, I can't do this.
Right.
Here's the keys. I can't pay you.
Yeah. Congratulations.
And all of a sudden you're back in business, but now you're in a business that's greatly
Yes.
wounded.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
And so I just think that's, whenever anybody says, I'm going to own or carry, I'm like,
Yeah, be careful. It's like walking through a minefield when you do that. If you're going to do it, which sometimes that's the way that it's historically been the way we've chosen to do it. If you're going to do that, then make sure that you remove the mines from the field before you send your person across. Help the person who's going to buy it from you before you leave the business to first of all dial in everything that you have up here, that you haven't institutionalized, get that into the business so that it runs without you. And the second generation of that is make sure from a leadership perspective, customer perspective, whatever the dynamics are that are going to continue to change in front of the business, that you get your business ready to respond to them, and you teach, especially the person who's taking it from you, what you know and what you wish you knew, so that when they take it, they have less chance of failing. Don't just hand it to them and watch them ride away and hope they don't hit the pole. And by the way, don't yell hit the pole, because as soon as you do, they ride right into the pole, right? But get them ready. And that's a preparation question that is a deep and a big one, because the world is changing and we got to be ready to meet the change that's coming. It's happening whether we like it or not.
so in my father's time, my dad thought, I'm just a mechanic.
Yes.
And I can only expect so much out of my company.
Right.
You know, I don't even know if I'd call it a comfortable living, but I call it a living.
Right.
And then maybe a little money at the end when I sell the place. When Dad sold his business, I think he waited too long.
Yeah.
There wasn't much there to sell. But in my time, we've seen, a lot of shop owners who, again, didn't have a high expectation, at the end. And even today, I think we have people that don't have a high expectation at the end. If I can get out of this thing with a few $100,000, $500,000, okay, that's what I'm going to get out.
Yeah.
But we never thought that we might get a 10x or a 12x.
It wasn't even on the radar. This conversation couldn't even come up.
I don't even think it came up 10 years ago.
No, it didn't.
Yeah, but there's a whole new conversation. I remember in the early days, right?
In the old days.
But yeah, when like we saw the first franchise come in, because even when I was there weren't many franchises, and now we're seeing private equity come in and try to consolidate the marketplace, which has caused this change.
Right.
And I think the early consolidators that came in, they didn't care what they bought as long as it was cheap.
Exactly.
Right? But the new consolidators that are coming in at this point care what they buy. And they don't want it cheap. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm pretty sure they don't want to pay a nickel more than they would.
Right.
But what they want is a well-running machine that's a cash machine. And that's what's created this ability to potentially get a 10 or a 12 times multiple.
Yeah. The first guys that came in as consolidators were good consolidators, but entering into an industry for the first time that's never been penetrated before with consolidation, there's just a lot of unknowns. And those guys are coming in, even if they hire automotive people, they're basically finance guys that are coming in and bringing money to buy somebody to get a foothold. And then they kind of figure it out as they go. Then what happens is now that our industry knows they're there. And the conversation we should be having now is, since they're here, how do they work? How do they talk? What do they want? What's their value proposition when they look at us? What kind of a gem are we, right? And what we should be doing now is preparing to have conversations with those guys, not because we're necessarily going to go work with them, but because that world is a whole different light that's been turned on our industry, that if I were an owner, even if I wanted to keep it in the family, I would want to know what the future long way down the road looks like to put that value in my business as well. And then you're talking about the change that's happening. We're having a different conversation with owners now about options and how far out they are and what does it take to play through each of these successfully. And there's a lot more now on the table than there was before to be an owner operator.
So I think a lot of owners at this point, they have this belief system that consolidators are bad.
Yep.
And so what's going to happen is if I sell to a consolidator, a private equity company or whatever, that my legacy is going to disappear, that the people in the shop are going to get screwed, and my customers are going to get screwed. But there's so part of what you've been doing, part of what interested me is that there's a new conversation.
Absolutely.
Where we used to think, I don't know, 5 years ago, 3 years ago, that we had no control. So I'm going to sell my business. I'm going to sell it to my child first.
Right.
But a lot of kids didn't want to be in the industry because dad worked too hard, or dad was never home, or we never had enough money, or whatever. Right. My story.
Yeah, I don't want to be in this business.
Yeah,
thanks,
my
Pops.
story,
No.
but I'm here, right? I always, it's like the mob, right? You know, they got you, you can't get out.
I'm going to get out. No, I'm not.
But it's a new conversation.
Yeah.
I mean, it's we can have control over who we sell to. Absolutely. and maybe not ultimate control, because there is a point where I'm out, someone else is in, but control to the future of our business, and we can set our people and our business up for long-term success, which is a different conversation.
Yeah. There's so much in what you just said, Cecil. I don't want to be corporate when I'm done.
Yeah.
Okay, so the very first consolidator to hit the ground knocks on some person's door who has no idea what's coming and says, "We'd like to buy your business." They're like, "Okay, how much?" And they're like, "This much." And they're like, "Okay." And they hand it to them. Right. And all those guys know to do is to play that corporatizing game.
Bunch of accountants and finance
and
guys
lawyers and all that,
but don't understand the personal part of the
not
business.
only your business, not only the industry that we're in, they don't understand, but they also, most of the history of all industries has been this financial operations, sales, profit, organizational
All about the
machine.
profit and the money,
Right.
not about the people at all.
Separately from all of that is this development of this knowledge of how powerful humans are when you release them in the fullness of their potential and you turn them on and you start building a mastery-based culture and you're building your leadership up to be high performance culture. You turn it's like us stepping on the nitrous, it goes up again. In our industry, because this has not been here very much before, we take off. But here's the story. This hasn't happened in a whole lot of industries. It's happened sporadically here and there. When we bring this to this industry, there are choices that we can make when we pick a private equity partner. Some of them aren't savvy enough to understand the power of this. They're good business people, but they're traditional good business people in their sense. They're good business people in the sense of what their industry looks like. This gem, it's almost like they're expecting to buy something that needs to be fixed up before they can use it. And we have something over here that they don't even know what they're looking for. But next to them are some of the investors that do. So our job, in my opinion, if I'm an owner-operator and you said, what's your strategy, Michael? Number one, become the highest performance company I can be. Number two, surround myself by people that talk and think like I do, and begin to build this network of folks that are like us, that are doing it differently, outperforming the rest of our industry, and doing it for all the right reasons. Now, when these guys come to town, now because we know they're there, and I will say we know they're there, there's that last report I heard, $162 billion worth of what their industry calls dry powder. It's like ammunition waiting to be fired. Here's the
Money
short.
waiting to be invested.
Here's the short. They got more money than we got projects to hand them.
Yeah.
So they'll come by about anything they can find if we can make a deal. However, if we want the best deal we can from the best people who understand what the best deal looks like, and they'll bring more money to the table to get it, we build these high performance things. That's where you're going.
But
Right?
I want to cover something because I think I don't want to.
You don't want to miss it.
I don't want to send the wrong message.
Okay.
Okay. It's not like we're opening the door to these people. It's not like we're going, hey, come in my industry and screw it up.
No.
Right? They're coming, whether we like it or not, right? Because they see this industry as a cash cow, as a very profitable money machine for them, right?
Yep.
And so by building an organization that runs well, that has the systems, the processes where I'm not essential to the day-to-day operation, I'm actually putting myself more in charge and more in control of what happens.
Absolutely.
And how that happens for me.
We've talked about this a lot, work in the business, or work on the business, don't work in the business, right? Get out of it so that the day the check and the keys change hands, however that happens, when the owner walks away, if anything, it gets even better because the owner might have been unknowingly holding some things down. If you got the entire thing wrapped around you and you get ready to walk away, they see that coming from a mile away and you're not going to get the same deal you'd have gotten otherwise.
That's your 2.5x.
That's your 2.5, maybe 2.8x average of our industry.
And not a 10 or a 12x.
You want to get up there, you need scale, you need quality, operations, sales, profits. If you want to go higher than that, which you can, you also need to have this whole mastery, high performance, extra to become the top 1%. Leadership, high performance teams. You have a customer experience that you work on to put it at the top of the game. You have an impact on your community more than your competitors do.
So for those guys out there that are like hell like me, frankly, if you'd asked me, 10 years ago about the consulting company and why you're doing this and everything, and what your opportunities were, I would have said, I'm doing it to help the world I know,
Absolutely.
the only one I know how to help.
Your friends, the people you know.
And I'm doing it to make a retirement or a living, but I was looking at a much smaller, piece of the world, right? And as I've seen the industry change in the last 10 years, and these consolidators come in, and the opportunities, and even what you've accomplished already by getting, these huge deals for some of our clients, now I think differently. So if I go back to, 25 years ago when I was working in a shop, did I want my sons or my daughters working in the shop, owning a shop? The answer was probably not. It's a lot of hard work, probably not really the return. You almost have to love it or feel like you're trapped in one or the other, right?
I know.
But now, building a company on that level, there's so much more opportunity for my son. I don't even think today if I owned, 3 shops, would I necessarily sell those 3 shops to my son? I would want to create the organization because the wealth that can be created by putting the organization together and putting my son in a position to head and run the organization, and get a 10x out of it or a 12x out of it, to me is much more attractive.
I agree with you. It's inevitable that this is going to happen, and we know lots of people in this industry, and a lot of them are friends, right? And they're like, I don't want to be a corporate guy, and it's like, okay, I totally appreciate that sentiment. Here's the deal: there's 235,000 of us out there, and this industry's avoided this, and 50 other industry verticals have gone down this road before, and this is the road industries go down, and we're here. And so the point kind of is it's going to happen. You don't want to play the game. You don't have to. You can sail away tomorrow. You can sell it without thinking about it to somebody else, right?
If you sail away tomorrow, now I might say, well, I am in my 60s, but let's say I'm pushing 70. You might be in that position and say, I don't have any time or any energy to move forward. All I want is an out.
Sure.
Okay? But by running a well-run organization, I go from maybe a 2x to a 5x. Okay?
The price that's going to get put on your organization is going to be based on how much it nets at the end of the year and how stable it is from a risk management standpoint when an investor looks at it.
And by the way, I'm not even talking about investors at this point in time. I'm talking about, okay, I'm going to sell it to my top tech.
But this is something you and I have talked about. Like the next guy that buys it's an investor. I don't care if it's a key employee or your cousin or if it's a PE guy from New York.
But so maybe I don't have a lot of time, but by being a part of this movement that we're doing, creating, working in, you can get around guys that want to be the guys that go there, who will pay you more for your business than just the guy who walks in and says, I want to shop.
Yeah, well, let's go back to expectations, right? If the industry says, okay, you get 2.5 times EBITDA when you sell your business, and I don't really have time to pay attention to EBITDA, so I guess I'm going to kind of run it, and at some point I'm going to flip it to somebody who will buy it, and I'm guessing that's how our industry's gone for 50, 75 years.
And we're talking 2.8x is what we're talking
2.5,
about.
2.8, maybe 3 if the person will let you set the price and they don't know enough to push back or whatever, right? Bottom line is you're handing it to somebody that is going to have to take it, and here's the point, into the future that's happening, whether you liked it or not. Your business is going to end up in that future at the same pace everybody else's does.
And if we look at auto body, we've watched over the last 25 years, we've watched that happen there.
Yeah.
Where there's maybe 5 companies that own 90% of the auto body space.
Absolutely. And it happened, and Cecil, it happened there faster because the financing for car repairs is insurance company centric, and they drove the change for the efficiencies. So that allowed us to stay behind the bushes, right? It's like, we're over there. You know what put the spotlight on this was COVID. And here's why. It wasn't what we did. We were just kind of quietly cranking along, a little speed bump, doors are open, little key washing, we're fine, right? We just made minor adjustments and most businesses kept going. The private equity guys' business didn't keep going. High-end restaurants, strip malls, buildings they bought that were empty. It's like pow, 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 pow.
They went, wait a minute, there's some sunshine over there.
Well, that's exactly what happened.
There's an industry that's COVID-proof.
That's it. We're in the bushes with the little light on, quietly having a little life back there, and there's all these little spotlights, and they're going, right? This when it's all off, they're like, what? Ooh, and that's what happened.
Still shining.
That's it. And they walked around behind there, and they go, oh, the average guy in this business, you know the numbers, what, 4% EBITDA? Yeah, 4 net. Right. They look over there, but the guys that are doing it better are 18, 20, 22, right? You walk into an investor's office and go, I can bring you a stable, a la risk managed, sizable, this is where scale matters, business that can deliver 20, 20%, 20, 22% net over time.
Okay.
Would you be interested?
Oh, hell yeah.
They knocked their furniture.
Where else could I put my money where I could get 22% return?
That's why they're here.
I mean,
That's why they're here.
And have it, I mean, nothing's risk-free.
It's
but
risk
have it
mitigated. It's risk
managed.
It's
right?
risk managed, risk mitigated.
Yeah.
Right? They're bringing it down and managing it. Exactly right.
So this thing we're doing, right? We're building. We've already built, but we're now
Now
moving
we're launching
it out.
Now
right?
we're launching it. Right. Right.
How does it? Why should I do it as a shop owner? Why should I be involved?
Big picture philosophy. Let's start there and trickle down.
Okay.
Owner operators have a choice. Do I get washed over by this tidal wave? Do I sit in the middle of the earthquake and just ride it out and see if I fall in a hole? Whatever, right? There's a handful of people who are going to say, it's a tidal wave. I'm a surfer. I love my jet ski. There has to be opportunity here somewhere. Let's go. That's what we're doing, right? Because the idea is that there's a future that's changing, and without hurting anybody else, it's a complete win-win set of models that we put a lot of effort into building. We would like to be the owner-operator top of this industry to define, and this is the philosophic part, to define the future of this industry from our perspective instead of from theirs.
Gain some control, be able to direct our lives, mitigate our risk.
Even the legacies that we leave behind. Right? If all the private equity guys are on the continuum from eat your kin shark over here to people who are philanthropic, no, but they understand that if they make a positive difference in the community, that there's two things happening.
More long term,
It's more long term. It's more profitable over
Yeah.
time, right? Rather than eating your young, you're actually making a difference. Those guys that live in their world see us here building this at the top of the industry. We're gonna have influence over where this thing goes. If we all go over to the sharks because we don't know any better, and they pick us off one at a time and eat us, right? Just keep swimming through the school until we're all gone. That's fine. Let's go over and become giant tuna before those guys show up. We'd be faster, bigger, bully them, whatever. And I'm saying to you, let me talk about bullying them. I don't mean be mean to them. What I'm saying is, it's like they're not in control. But let me go.
I can dictate at least many of the conditions if I'm in a better space. Now, hang on, because automotive guys will never do this because the guy down the street is my enemy.
Yeah.
Right? He's my competition, and he's hurting me, or he's taking my potential clients. So how are we going to get these guys to play nice together?
You know what, the guys, I don't mean to besmirch anybody's attitudes or opinions. I have found enough clients that I've been working with whose attitude is, if the guys at the top of the industry are friendly, the industry's better off. Not everybody, because there are people in our industry that we wouldn't choose to do business with.
Yeah, we won't do business with.
They cheat their customers.
But there are also people that we could do business with, that we could help.
That's right.
Could help us.
So here's the thing. What if the top shops in town who care about their people, care about their customers, care about their community, do great work, good shops, the best in the town, all come together and sit together and say, I'm not going to pay attention to what all the other guys in the industry are doing. Whether they like us or not, whatever, let them do their thing.
But if the top 20% got together.
The top 5% gets together, top 10%, right? But the best guys in town sit down and say, look, here's the thing. We have an opportunity, if we spend some time together at this point, to refine how we all see this together. And in the process of doing that, we're putting a message out there into all the worlds around us, including the finance guys, that we have something that's very special here, which is the best of both worlds. It's not just productive and financially profitable. It's also this value-driven legacy in the community.
Creates a real experience for the customer, a more positive experience.
That's right.
A more long-lasting experience that our customers will feel good about.
Absolutely. So, and I'll just say, to follow up on this, the guys that look around and go, I hate my neighbor, I would suggest this beginning of a thought process to say, maybe there's a better way than seeing ourselves that way. Because, of course, if you've been stabbed in the back by the guy next door before, it's a little Hatfield and McCoy, hard to forget about that. Not everybody's worth trying to approach, but the general concept as an industry is, guys, we're going to roll up into a handful of giant players eventually, 10, 15, 20 years, just like the collision business did. It's inevitable. So here's the point. We're all going to be kin at some point. So you want to fight with your cousins over Thanksgiving, or would you rather have a peaceful dinner? Why don't you start
I don't
now?
know. A good fight's kind of fun, right?
Yeah, it depends on what it's
Depends on
over.
the cousin,
Yeah, you know, right?
How dirty they
As long
fight.
as there's dinner at the end, it's good. Right?
Yeah. So we're building venture strategy networks with the top shops.
Yes.
And you don't even have to be quote unquote a top shop. You could be a shop that wants to be a top shop.
Right.
And we're going to help them not only create a better experience for themselves and their businesses and their customers,
Yep.
but we're going to give them some power and control over their profit
Absolutely.
and their how they get out and their legacy.
Because the reality, Cecil, is that when you operate at that higher level of, I guess, social existence, if you want to put it that way for short, you make more money. And I can prove that to you.
Oh, we've done it.
After industry
Yeah.
after industry.
Well, and we've done
in
it.
this one
and
too.
we've done it here already.
You guys have done this already.
Okay.
Right.
So with the idea that we can move the industry up and help the industry mature
Yes.
and progress.
Good word.
Okay.
Absolutely right. I say evolve, but I like mature better. Right?
Yeah. Well, maybe it's a little of both.
a little
we're
of
always
both.
evolving.
I know,
and whether we
right?
like it or not, we're always maturing, right? Well, maybe.
Yeah, some of us.
Yeah, some of us. My son is always like, "How old are you?" I'm like, "I'm 6." Right? Gotta have some fun.
Exactly.
I think what my concerns for the industry are, if we have this mindset of 20 years ago that we carry with us, and that we don't have that value and we have no real control, we can't get it, our customers won't pay for it, blah,
Yep.
blah, blah, we're stuck.
Yeah.
And when we're stuck, that's a 1.5x or a 2x.
Right.
And there's this world where I could literally have a shop that maybe makes $250,000 in profit that I could sell for a 5x, a 6x, or even a 10x. And if I had 3 shops or 5 shops, or even one shop that made $1 million a year, then I could sell for an 8 to a 12x, right? That potential is now there in the industry that didn't exist even, I would say, 5 years ago, 7 years ago, right? To me, it's amazing that's here.
And I want to build on what you just said, add to it something you said before about expectations, right? The reality of the way things work is that if an owner expects to live at this level, their company will live at this level. If an owner can get beyond that and see the potential to get here, and not just see it, but come to put it in their heart and believe it, as soon as they believe it, it's going to start to climb. And so part of the challenge that's out there in front of us is we have to break the paradigms. We have to change the paradigms that this industry has. And you and I have talked about this. One of my favorite things to do is to stand up in a room full of owners and say, tell me everything that's wrong with that we can't change about this industry.
Oh, you could, by the way, you could do that for hours and hours.
Well, and you get these long lists, right? And then I look up there and I go, and then I start picking at them, right? Well, you mean we can't change this? Well, we could, but it's just like, okay. So, and then you go down through them. At the end, it's like, why don't we change all of them? And people are like, well, I guess because that's the way it is. And I go, but does it need to be that way? And they're like, well, no. And I go, well, then why don't we just raise the bar on our expectation and fix all this stuff? And everybody's looking at each other going, yeah, why not, right? Which is, again, kind of why you get the people in the room that can see this and go, I'm going to do that for me. I'm going to do that for me. And then you go, do you guys want to work together to do this so you all don't have to learn the same hard lessons? Yeah, that'd be a great idea. Welcome to the Venture Strategy Network.
But also
right?
I don't want to give up secrets, right?
Yeah, well, yeah.
So I don't necessarily want to go there,
Right.
but this is not a pipe dream. This is not maybe we could do this.
We have done this before in
Yes.
places, proven it, all the way through to the big exit at the end, building the platforms and all that. It's been done. It's not a pipe dream.
Yeah.
And so the concept now is around the country is there's an opportunity for people geographically to be able to stop and look at their neighbor and go, okay, I don't trust, thanks to history. But you know what? There are a couple of people in this town that I should be talking to right now. And we begin a process of raising expectations at the top of this industry, Cecil, just to say, as soon as we can agree on what it is we want to take to those guys, they are dying for us to bring something to them that they can put money into. And if we hand them garbage, they give us garbage money back. If we hand them gems, we get gem money back. And so I'm saying, all you guys who don't care, go sell somebody garbage is fine with me. The guys that do care, let's make a different kind of a legacy, which in my opinion will change the way this industry sees itself and the way we add value, and we take that to the marketplace. And we're talking, do you want a garbage price or do you want a gem price?
You're like hitting my biggest nerve, and that is we need to think about ourselves in a more professional and a different way.
Absolutely.
Because when we do, then our expectations are different, and our deliverables are different, and our receivables are different, right? So there's one last thing. Maybe it's not the last thing, but there's guys out there, coaching companies out there that are saying, well, we know how to help you get multiple shops, or we know. Is that the same thing?
No. In my opinion, multi-shop system building is just it's almost like the foundational Lego platform that you build your cool structure on. Going from single to multi is a beginning of a process. Going from single to multi is not even being good at it. Just because you buy a shop doesn't make you good at it. I bought 3, doesn't make you good at it. How you put it together to go forward with it is a completely different question. And what should you buy? And why should you buy? And
how should you buy?
All of these questions, right? So this whole idea that, well, I'm going to build a multi-shop, I'm not making fun of our competitors. I'm saying this idea that, because I'm saying it that way with that voice for a reason. The belief in our business was, I buy a shop, it's hard. I finally dial it in. I get a wild hair sometime. I go a little crazy, buy a second one. Now I'm in 2 places at one time. This one's okay, but it suffers now because I'm not there anymore because I built it around me. The new one I have to dial in. It's painful. I get them all stable a little bit. And then I get another wild hair and I buy a third one. And now I'm 62 and I sell them off in pieces and I'm done. I'm like, what the heck did I do that for? All the energy I put into it. That is the traditional multi-shop model. 1, 2, 3, and out, right? This whole concept of what these guys are looking for and where this industry is going to end up in 5, 10, 15, 20 years over a progressive period of time, they're going to be a handful of players that are 20, 30, 40,000 shop systems. Do we want them to be the corporate kind that we're going to turn into if we don't take charge of this as owner-operators? And I mean that. Or do we declare to the finance people, we will make you more money if you do the meaningful thing which we've designed and developed carefully, not like the rest of our competitors, but because we're doing this thing, who out there wants to talk? And the sharks are like, we can't wait to eat you. And we're like, no deal. See, one of the big things I try to tell my clients are, believe it or not, you're in charge in this private equity conversation. And they're like, little old me? And I'm like, you got to understand what you're holding in your hand. They've got lots of money and not enough projects. Right. We build a gem, they will line up and fight each other for you.
But in this deal that we've done, I'm going to take a little credit. I wasn't involved yet, but in this deal that you orchestrated, this network that you put together, etc. Platform that you built, you turned down.
Oh, we did.
Private equity companies, multiple.
We had a stack of them, and we started sorting backwards through them. And there were people that were interested in doing business with us that we looked at, and we said respectfully, I think we're going to make a different decision. And I'm not going to put any of them down. They were not all in this category, but some of them did business, shark eating baby way. And we just were not interested in that kind of a partner. Because if you build your own platform, very seldom do they say, thanks for the 100% of your company, give me the keys, I'll give you a check and disappear. If you're building a platform, that means you're the platform. They buy a portion of your company. Right. So they don't buy 100%, they buy 51%, 55%, 70%, whatever y'all are negotiating in the deal, which by the way is all malleable. If you speak their language, you can get a better deal than if you don't. So beware, right? The expert who says, oh, I'll take you to private equity, which guys includes the local broker who used to be a real estate guy, who was some other guy before that, right? And this is the next iteration of things. People who understand that industry, speak the lingo, know what they're looking for in value. We know what we've built in value. So we want guys with good money who have the same skills that the sharks do, but that also see this thing that we've built, this gem that makes a difference in terms of meaning, those are our future partners. So those guys, we meet them, we find out who they are, they find out what we're doing. They want to do business with them, we don't. Because what we're looking for is the handful of private equity firms that go, I could polish this even higher, and together we're going to do more than those guys would have ever been able to do. And we're preparing this for those conversations. And here's the point. We're not going to go corporate like those guys would do. The minute they get here, they shove their life over ours and we lose all control. Those guys are like, look, I'm a laissez-faire guy. You do your thing. I'm not going to walk in here and tell you how to make your gem shiny. You did a beautiful job of doing that. We got the money. We'll grow it. We'll bring you resources. We'll help you where you get stuck. Keep doing what you're doing. And by the way, describe for us the magic of you so we can see if there's anybody else out there to bring into our project to join us alongside. So then everybody who comes and makes this project bigger, which is the point of the project, ideally looks just like the gems that are here. So what we're talking about is polishing gems, the right gems, around, and then seeing what the options are.
Three things that I want to do. Number one, you didn't come from automotive.
No, I did not.
You understand that world.
I grew up in that world.
Okay. Number two,
For 40 years ago.
if I'm a guy who I don't want to play this game, I'm old, I'm tired, I want to get out.
Yep.
We can help you get out in the best possible way.
Oh yeah, and Cecil, there are options even for those guys because of what else we're doing. We can help them with more than just, well, let me polish your little gem to hand to the key employee. If they know what we're doing all around them, there's still multiple options without them having to be a growth engine, to become a platform.
Would create more money on the way out.
Yep, and more opportunity for their people in the future,
and
all
more
of that.
control and
Absolutely.
et cetera, more of the legacy.
Yep.
If you are a guy who says, wait a minute, I don't want to join a platform, I want to be a platform,
Done it.
we know how to do that.
We built one, right? We built one of the largest national platforms that exist today.
Okay. And if
We
you're...
designed it and sold it to private equity. They're building it. I
Yeah.
gotta take credit where credit's not due.
And if you say to yourself, I don't necessarily want to have 100 shops of my own, but I do want to be part of this and grow with a platform, we can take care of that also.
Absolutely. And again, it always starts with exit strategy. When, how much, who do you want to pay attention to? What's your future look like? All the things we do with exit strategy. Then we back up and we start to build an option map with people. And it's different every time. It's unique based on where they live, the company they're holding. Is it a mess?
But there
or
are
is it
multiple
clean?
opportunities for me.
This opens up opportunities for everybody, even if you went out tomorrow. Right?
And
let's start talking.
Yeah, let's have a conversation, because if we can help you
Right.
double or triple or quadruple what you get out of your company, is that worth a conversation?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, there are things that we're doing now that would allow somebody, and this is no guarantee, okay? There are things we're doing now that will allow somebody who does a good business in a town to be able to join other people doing good business in a town and get a multiple higher on their business than they would have gotten otherwise. You're not going to get 4x, or 4 times the original price, but there are ways that we're going to get you more than one
But you
times.
might get double, or you might get 50% more.
We could,
whatever.
again, depending on what you choose to do, participate in, whatever. But again, let's just have the conversation and see where you are. And we'll tell you the truth, right? And it might also be, you got to do some work on this before you get out. I know you want out soon.
But at least you'll have the information.
The options are exactly
to be able
right.
to make
It's a more
an intelligent
educated
decision.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
It's a more educated decision.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
And what I really hate to see is these men and women who have worked so hard their entire lives, at the end to walk away and give up a 1x or a 2x because they don't have the information, the knowledge.
Look, and you asked at the beginning, why am I here? Right? What are we doing here? That's what we're doing here. These all the folks that are our clients, the people in this industry, given their lives to this thing. Some of them 20 years, some of them 40 years, some of them more than that. And it's like, at the end of the day, it's like, it's not about the shininess of what you leave behind. Is everybody impressed? It's like, what's important to you in terms of the legacy that you leave behind?
How much good did I do in the world?
And how much can we help you understand what's important to you, so that when you retire, I'm going to throw a statistic out there. I know, it's 75% of private privately owned company owners regret selling their business a year later because they didn't do the stuff we're talking about here ahead of time. And when all the dust settled, they looked back and went, I fell far short of my financials, my transition of my company. I left my customers high and dry. I didn't take care of my people. 75% of them regret the decision to sell.
I know so many guys
Underprepared.
that basically when they got to that point that they needed to either physically, mentally, or otherwise sell their business and get out, they didn't get what they really needed, right?
Yes, that too.
And that's, to me, that's a scary thing. All right, I think we are wrapping it up because that's time, and I think we covered just about everything we wanted.
I'm glad